Hello, my friends. Today we are going to continue our exploration of Adobe Photoshop, and we're going to be talking about the crop tool. When we're talking about the crop tool, there's a lot of things that you can do with your crop tool, and we're going to talk about a good chunk of it, but not quite everything. So you may want to take some time to explore on your own. One of the great things about Adobe Photoshop allows you to crop unwanted parts of your image, and that's your basic definition of cropping. But it also has a lot more options when you open up the crop tool. And we're going to go through those basics first, and then I'm going to go through how we're going to edit our 4 images that I've provided for you today. First, at the top, when I activate my crop tool, one of the things you're going to see is I've got some presets already set up here that if I wanted to go ahead and crop to like a 4:6 photo at 300 pixels per inch, I can go ahead and adjust to those. I also have some ratios that I can work in, which has, again, some of those same 4:5, 8.5:11, things like that, or just a simple ratio, 1:1, 5:7, a 16:9, which is that widescreen, or you can type in your own ratio. The straighten tool, which we're going to use on our crooked beach down here, is right here, and that allows you to get a straight line to help you crop and rotate simultaneously. You have your grid tool right here where you have different grids that you can turn on to help you line things up and to make sure that you're cropping things appropriately. And then, of course, you have some extra options over here like content aware and delete cropped pixels. And we're going to leave delete cropped pixels checked because we genuinely want to get rid of what we're cropping. So let's get started. With this image that I have here, you'll notice that the horizon is not straight, and I want to make sure that this looks beautiful and straight. So I'm going to start by activating my crop tool, which I'm already in, and then I'm going to click the straighten button, and my mouse is going to change to what looks like a little level. This allows me to click and drag a line in the image, and this lets me show Photoshop what I think should be straight. When I release, and this is only not even a 2-degree change, what it's going to do is it's going to rotate and change the crop preview to get that horizon perfectly straight. And now I can either hit the check mark up here on my options bar, or I just like to hit return or enter on my keyboard. And now that is nice and straight. This is a quick and easy way to help you rotate your images quickly, effectively, and crop out the extra space that you don't need. We're going to make sure we save this so that we can turn it in. Let's go on to our flowers. When we're talking about image size, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is sometimes we want to adjust our resolution, we want to adjust our image size depending on what it is we're doing. And we're going to talk about those options today under the image menu, and then we're also going to do some cropping. For the 3 images, I'm going to ask that you adjust a few things. First, we're going to start by, I'm going to ask you to increase the resolution of this flowers 1, then we're going to use our rule of third grid, and we're going to crop our image using the rule of thirds guides. First, I'm going to start with my image size, and all I want to do is I want to change my resolution. So you're going to see that I've got this resolution set on 72 pixels per inch. I'm going to move this up to 150 pixels per inch. That is a really great resolution size, and you're going to see a couple of things that have changed. One, the image size has changed. It's gone increased because now we're increasing the number of pixels per inch. This is your PPI. If I change this to 300 pixels per inch, you're going to see that the size has also dramatically changed and the dimensions have changed. Let's go back to our original, and I want you to see what it does. 72 pixels per inch is going to calculate based on the number of pixels times the width and height to get our dimensions right here. So as I increase this number, you're going to see the pixels go up based on that math. So this is something they do talk about on the certification. So you want to make sure that you understand how pixels and size is calculated. So I'm going to go ahead and just set this to 150, and I'm going to say okay. And if you'll notice, everything blew up. So now I can scale this back, and it's going to be a much larger image to work with. Now there's only so much pixels. So sometimes if you try to increase your size too much, you're going to start losing quality because the computer can only do so much with that resample size, which we're going to do here in just a second. I'm going to turn my grid on here, and I'm going to choose my rule of third. And then I'm going to put on auto show overlay. Excuse me. always show. There it goes. I apologize. Now you'll see that I have this grid, and I'm going to change this, and I'm going to show you that you can adjust the grid as you want to, depending on what it is maybe you're looking for. But we're going to do rule of third, and I'm going to use my rule of third to help me make sure that my subject here is lined up on this kind of grid. I like to ensure that my grid here is going to be right at the center of my sunflower, and I'm just going to move this using these kind of grid lines to help me until I get it right about the way I want it to look and compositionally. Again, I'm just going to hit the check mark to get that cropped, and I'm going to save my image and move on. Flower 2, we're going to increase. We're going to go back to image and image size. And this time we're just going to change the size, not the resolution, the size. And I'm just going to bump this up to, I'm going to add 10 to each. And if you'll notice, this little object right here is checked because this is going to constrain my aspect ratio, which means as this number changes, the number below it changes. If I unconstrained this, that means if I change the width, the height won't change or vice versa, and it's gonna mess up the look of my image. But I'm gonna just set this at 20 and I'm gonna say okay. The other issue, hopefully you've noticed, is my image is upside down. So let's talk about image rotation. This is found again underneath the image menu, image rotation, and I have 180, 90, all these different ones. And I also have arbitrary, which allows me to put in exactly the amount of angle I want to rotate. For this though, it's just simply upside down. So I'm gonna go to image rotation and I'm gonna rotate it 180 degrees to get that right side up. Once again, I'm gonna crop a little bit here and I'm gonna crop a little bit more interesting. I'm gonna crop this right here in half to create something that's a little bit more dynamic and remove some of these petals to create just something that looks a little more interesting. Again, I'm gonna save and turn it in. Our last one, we're gonna decrease our image size. And again, you choose the size. You see it's actually pretty small already. So I'm gonna decrease this to like a 2 and I'm gonna say okay. And it's a little small image and I want you to see, and I've given you this one on purpose because I want you to see that pixel size matters. The size of our images matter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and crop this and I'm gonna crop in a different way. Rather than dragging these bars like we've done before, I'm just gonna click using my crop tool right here in the area I want to keep, which is just the daisies only is what I've asked you to do. Now, once you've drawn that box, you can still make adjustments as you want to, but it is nice sometimes to straight crop on exactly what you want. The other thing I'm going to change is I'm going to change my resample. Resample is basically options that help smooth things out, help reduce pixel noise or kind of graininess. And I'm going to choose bicubic sharpener reduction. And it's just going to help smooth out a little bit. Now, this is a really pixelated image, so it doesn't do as great of a job. I would probably use this more on this type of image where I'm going to go back here and I'm going to kind of change right there. And that just helps kind of clean up that image a little bit more. Make sure you save all 4 of your cropped images and turn them in. And hopefully you can continue using the crop tool effectively to help you edit your photos. Thanks, everybody.